یه موسع کار خانم سیمین فهندژ هستن که در مورد آخرین وضعیت بهاییان در ایران برای ما صحبت بفرمایید.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. As we're going to see here today, many members of religious minorities in Iran are persecuted because of their beliefs, both those religions that are recognized in the constitution in Iran and also those like members of the Baha'i faith who are not recognized in the constitution. Today I would like to focus on the 7 former leaders of the Baha'i community in Iran, as their situation and the way they have been treated is the perfect example of the persecution that has been faced by all the Baha'is in Iran over the past over 30 years. Just a few weeks ago was the 5th anniversary of the imprisonment of the 7 former leaders of the Baha'i community, and their names are Ms. Mahvash Sabit, Fariba Kamalabadi, Jamaluddin Khanjani, Afif Naimi, Saeed Rezai, Behruz Tawakkoli, Wahid Tizfa. They were part of a coordination group that helped to see the minimum needs of the Baha'is in Iran, of the Baha'i community, things such as marriages, divorces, deaths, which are really the most basic things a community needs. Authorities imprisoned them 5 years ago and held them in custody for over 20 months. With very severe limitations on lawyers, and then sentenced them to 20 years imprisonment on false charges. And these 20 years imprisonments are the longest sentences given to any current prisoner of conscience in Iran. These 7 Baha'is were really ordinary people living ordinary lives in Iran, just like any other Iranian. And they were persecuted and denied even the most basic rights that a citizen should have in a country, like all the Baha'is in Iran. For example, Mr. Jamaluddin Khanjani, who is in his 80s and serving in very terrible conditions in Gohardasht prison, was once a successful factory owner, and he established the first automated brick factory in Iran, employing several hundred people. And after the revolution in 1979, he was forced to shut down this factory, and with that, as a result of that, many people were put out of work. And before his current imprisonment, he was actually arrested 3 times before because of his beliefs in the Baha'i faith. Or Ms. Mahvash Sabit, who is 60, she was a teacher and a school principal before the revolution, and was also dismissed after the revolution from public education for being a Baha'i. And in the most recent years before her arrest, she was involved in helping Baha'i youth who are barred from going to university in Iran. Mr. Behruz Tawakkoli, who is 61, he was a social worker who was also put out of work after the revolution. And before his most recent imprisonment, he was arrested 3 years before and was harassed and jailed for months without charge, and spent most of his time in solitary confinement and developed a serious kidney problem as a result of his arrest. As I said, these 7 oversaw the needs of the Baha'i community, and they actually functioned with the government's full knowledge. Baha'is don't have clergy, such as a mullah or a priest, and so they elect councils known as national spiritual assemblies to take care of the community's needs. And these assemblies comprise of 9 people. And this is the case in countries all around the world, and it was the case in Iran, where after the revolution, the National Spiritual Assembly in Iran were arrested, they were abducted and disappeared without a trace. And although their bodies have still not been found, they've been presumed dead. And after this first assembly were executed, the Baha'is gathered again and elected another assembly. And that assembly also, again, were arrested and they were executed. And they elected a 3rd assembly. By this time, the Iranian government declared all Baha'i institutions illegal. And again, some members of this assembly were executed. As I said, the Baha'is, the Baha'i faith is not recognized in Iran as a religion in the constitution, and the Baha'is have been persecuted from the very early days of the revolution. More than 200 Baha'is were executed, hundreds were put out of work and expelled from university. Baha'i children are persecuted in schools, they're humiliated in front of other students, in front of their peers. Anti-Baha'i pamphlets are passed around in schools, and in some cases they're also beaten. In 1991, a secret government memorandum was found by a UN special rapporteur, which was called the Baha'i Question, or Mas'ale Baha'iyyan. In this memorandum, it was clearly stated that Baha'is should be treated in such a way that their progress be denied, be stopped, and that as soon as anyone is known to be known to be a Baha'i in universities, to expel them from universities, and to also expel them from their place of work. The Baha'i international community recently held a campaign in support of the Yaran, or the 7 former leaders of the Baha'i community, and all the prisoners of conscience in Iran. And what was the most heartening about this campaign was the fact that so many people from diplomats to dignitaries to journalists, religious leaders, and just people around the world raised their voices in support of the 7 Baha'is and all the Baha'is in Iran, which really showed that that these people have not allowed the Iranian government to affect what they think about the Baha'is, that they show the Iranian government that they haven't believed in the false charges that have been spread about the Baha'is, and that the Baha'is who are in prison in Iran, they're all innocent. I think that the case of the Baha'is is unique in the sense that it's systematic. It's a systematic effort to really destroy the Baha'i community in any way possible in Iran. And this is proved by the several documents that have been found by the Iranian government. But there are also many groups and individuals in Iran who are persecuted, both because of their beliefs, but also because they're simply fighting for human rights or for women's rights. And they are arrested and persecuted because of that. But I think that as Iranians, we are realizing more and more that we have to really help and support each other because we cannot achieve human rights and freedom unless we all stand up for each other and be united and work together in this path. Thank you.